All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga.
Hare Krishna. Welcome to this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam class. Evil. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavalabha Girivardhari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Radha Madhava Ki Jai. Grantha Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. All together. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudirayat. Before reciting this Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, whose praise of transcendental songs is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Jai. So today we are reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 11. So, we just had Nrsinga Chaturdashi on Sunday, and we've been meditating on Prahlad Maharaj. And this next section, we're going into Varnashram. So the 7th canto, it's primarily based off of 2 questions that Maharaj Yudhishthira asks to Narada Muni. So the first question is the Lord impartial? Why does he always favor some people? Why does he always favor Indra and Indra's friends, the demigods? So is the Lord impartial? And to that, these past 10 chapters have all been explaining that one question through the story of Prahlad Maharaj and Nrsingadev. And now, after Maharaj Yudhishthira has heard the glories of Prahlad Maharaj, he now asks in text 2, he says, I wish to hear from you about the principles of religion by which one can attain the ultimate goal of life, devotional service. I wish to hear about the general occupational duties of human society and the system of social and spiritual advancement known as Varnashram Dharma. So, welcome everyone. Deidre, have you ever heard of Varnashram before? So it's kind of a system of societal structure. So there's different classes and different stages of life that people fall into. So we're going to be hearing about the duties of these different types of people. And an important thing to notice is that these principles, the goal is devotional service. It's not that these principles are the goal themselves, to be a perfect warrior, perfect kshatriya, perfect brahmana. The goal is devotion, yes. So he's saying, I wish to hear about the occupational duties of human society. And then, coming to our verses today, first Narada Muni gives a general description of what human beings should be like. So we can go through this and see if we're human beings yet. So 8 through 12. These are the general principles to be followed by all human beings. Truthfulness, mercy, austerity, observing fasts on certain days of the month, bathing twice a day, tolerance, discrimination between right and wrong, control of the mind, control of the senses, non-violence, celibacy, charity, reading of scripture, simplicity, satisfaction, rendering service to saintly persons, gradually taking leave of unnecessary engagements, observing the futility of the unnecessary activities of human society, remaining silent and grave and avoiding unnecessary talk, considering whether one is the body or the soul, distributing food equally to all living entities, both men and animals, seeing every soul, especially in the human form, as part of the Supreme Lord, hearing about the activities and instructions given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the shelter of the saintly persons, chanting about these activities and instructions, always remembering these activities and instructions, trying to render service, performing worship, offering obeisances, becoming a servant, becoming a friend, and surrendering one's whole self. O King Yudhishthira, these 30 qualifications must be acquired in the human form of life. Simply by acquiring these qualifications, one can satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, we hear often that we want to implement Varnashram Dharma among the human society. We want to implement this this order of classes. Yet Narada Muni, he's giving us what are the general principles to be followed by all human beings. This is almost the starting point. So, in this age of Kali, we are all so conditioned. We have so many bad habits that we're carrying, so many traumas, so many things. So, a lot of these principles we won't be able to immediately apply, but these are meant to help us. So, yes. Do we have a mic? Anyone? Vaishnav, can you read text 13? Also, welcome back.
To have reformed from the Garbhadhana ceremony and other prescribed reformatory methods performed with Vedic mantras and without interruption, and who have been approved by Lord Brahma are Dvijas or twice born. Such Brahmanas, Kshatriyas and Vaishyas purified by their family traditions and by their behavior should worship the Lord, study the Vedas and give charity. In the system they should follow the principles of The four
Dead?
Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vana.
And sannyas. Maybe someone can change the batteries on those. So, Deidre, if you're not familiar, so these 4 classes, there's what's considered the intellectual class, and that's kind of the your priests, your advisors, your counselors, the gurus. That's the intellectual class, which is the brahmanas, yes. And then the kshatriyas, kshatriya, trayate means to protect. So we're seeing kshatriyas, they're the protectors of society. They're the governors, they're the rulers. They maintain order, they maintain prosperity, you could say. But they follow the advice of the brahmanas. So the kings, they listen to the priests, essentially. The kshatriyas listen to the brahmanas. And the vaishyas, they are kind of the generators of society. So they generate wealth. They do agriculture. They take care of the cows. They take care of the land. And thus they feed the rest of the population, essentially. They are the employers. They know how to create income, essentially. And then the last class, the Shudras, they are kind of the hardworking, also called the laborer class. So they are employed by the other classes to assist them. Yeah. Text 14. For a brahmana, there are 6 occupational duties. A kshatriya should not accept charity, but he may perform the other 5 of these duties. A king or kshatriya is not allowed to levy taxes on brahmanas, but he may make his livelihood by levying minimal taxes, custom duties, and penalty fines upon his other subjects. So the king should not beg. It's a little obvious. The king should not accept charity, but he should levy taxes on the people, and he should redistribute his wealth. Text 15, the next class.
The mercantile community should always follow the directions of the brahmanas and engage in such occupational duties as agriculture, trade, and protection of cows. For the Shudras, the only duty is to accept a master from a higher social order and engage in his service.
Okay, so we're seeing the duties of all of them.
As an alternative, a Brahmin may also take to the Vaishya's occupational duty of agriculture, cow protection, or trade. He may depend on that which he has received without begging. He may beg in the paddy field every day. He may collect paddy left in a field by its proprietor, or he may collect food grains left here and there in the shops of grain dealers. These are the 4 means of livelihood that may also be adopted by Brahmins. Among these 4, each of them in succession is better than the one preceding it.
Okay, so yeah, who's ready to collect paddy left in the field or collect food grains left in the shops? So yeah, we'll get more into that later. Text 17, please.
Except in a time of emergency, lower persons should not accept the occupational duties of those who are higher. When there is such an emergency, of course, everyone but the Kshatriya may accept the means of livelihood of others.
You can read the next text too.
In time of emergency, one may accept any of the various types of professions known as Rita, Amrita, Mrita, Pramrita, and Satyanrita. But one should not at any time accept the profession of a dog. The profession of Unchashila, collecting grains from the field, is called Rita. Collecting without begging is called Amrita. Begging grains is called Mrita. Tilling the ground is called Pramrita. And trade is called Satyanrita. Engaging in the service of low-grade persons, however, is called Swavriti, the profession of the dogs. Specifically, Brahmins and Kshatriyas should not engage in the low and abominable service of Shudras. Brahmanas should be well acquainted with all the Vedic knowledge, and Kshatriyas should be well acquainted with the worship of demigods.
Okay. Next text. Deidre, would you like to read?
Oh, yes. I went.
Text 21.
The symptoms of the Brahmana are control of the mind, control of the senses, austerity and penance, cleanliness, satisfaction, forgiveness, simplicity, knowledge, mercy, truthfulness, and complete surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
You can read one more.
To be influential in battle, unconquerable, patient, challenging, and charitable, to control the bodily necessities, to be forgiving, to be attached to the Brahmanical nature, and to be always jolly and truthful. These are the symptoms of the
Kshatriya.
Kshatriya.
And just one last verse.
Okay. Being always devoted to the demigods, the spiritual master, and the Supreme Lord Vishnu, endeavoring for advancement in religious principles, economic development and sense gratification, dharma, artha, and kama, believing in the words of the spiritual master and scripture, and always endeavoring with expertise in earning money. These are the symptoms of the
Vaishya.
Vaishya.
Okay, thank you. We're going back to text 17.
Okay.
Jagyanya Natamam Vitim Anapadi Bhajanara Vitaira Jayam Aptasu Sarvesham Api Sarvashaha. Chant. Apadi Bhajanara Vairajanyam Apatsu and more. Jaganyo Notamam Vitim Anapati Vajanara Vairajanyam Apatsu Sarvesham Api Sarvasha. We can just go right to the translation. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. You can read it all together. Except in a time of emergency, lower persons should not accept the occupational duties of those who are higher. When there is such an emergency, of course, everyone but the Kshatriya may accept the livelihood, means the livelihood of others. Purport. The occupational duty of a Brahmana should not be accepted by persons in lower social orders, especially Vaishyas and Shudras. For example, an occupational duty of the Brahmana is to teach Vedic knowledge. But unless there is an emergency, this professional duty should not be accepted by the Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, or Shudras. Even a Kshatriya cannot accept the duties of a Brahmana unless there is an emergency. And then, even if he does so, he should not accept charity from anyone else. Sometimes Brahmanas protest against our Krishna consciousness movement for creating Brahmanas from Europeans, or in other words, from Malechas and Yavanas. This movement, however, is here supported in Srimad Bhagavatam. At the present moment, society is in a chaotic condition, and everyone has given up the cultivation of spiritual life, which is especially meant for the Brahmanas. Because spiritual culture has been stopped all over the world, there is now an emergency, and therefore it is now time to train those who are considered lower and condemned, so that they may become brahmanas and take up the work of spiritual progress. The spiritual progress of human society has been stopped, and this should be considered an emergency. Here is solid support from Narada Muni of the movement known as Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So, I was thinking, for those of us who are new to this system, Krishna introduces these 4 classes in the Bhagavad Gita. He says, Chatur Varnam Maya Shishtam Guna Karma Vibhagasha. So Krishna, he says that there are 2 factors which determine which of these we are. There's our guna, our qualities, and then there's our karma, our activities. So, in our Vaishnava society, we are being requested to act as brahmanas by Srila Prabhupada. He's saying that we're in an emergency. And so even though it may not be our propensity, it may not be our quality, it may not be our birth, it may not be our inclination, in this emergency, we need to spread spiritual knowledge to all the people of the world. So, Does anyone have an idea of when we saw that a Kshatriya cannot accept the means of livelihood of others? Very famous. We have the example of Arjuna. He was on the battlefield and he had to fight against his own family. And he told Krishna, Krishna, I want to go to the forest. Let me live peacefully. Let me kind of run away, in a sense. He wanted to adopt the activities of a brahmana, even though he was a Kshatriya. And Krishna says, you have to act according to your nature. He even says, what can repression accomplish? So when we try to repress things that are inherent in our nature, it only causes frustration. It only causes us to be anxious, to be disturbed. So that's the purpose of this Varnashram system, is to elevate all of us gradually to the goal. And what did we discuss the goal was earlier in this class? Devotional service, yes. So when we are properly situated, we can do our devotional service far better. There's the story of the king of the elephants and the crocodile. Generally, an elephant would completely destroy a crocodile in a fight. But the elephant had been in the water. The elephant was out of his element, you could say. And so thus, when the crocodile had attacked him, he couldn't defeat the crocodile. This is described in the 9th canto. And we learn from that story that when we are not in our proper element, when we are not in our position of strength, we will be overcome by Maya. We will be overcome by the external energy. So this is very important for us. This is, Srila Prabhupada said that half his mission was establishing this Varnashram. So if we look back at the 70s, everyone was on the streets chanting, tambourines out, and they were engaging in Krishna consciousness. They were trying to spread the Krishna consciousness movement. But for a long-term survival in Krishna consciousness, we will have to follow our nature. So Srila Prabhupada wanted to establish farm communities for devotees to live on, for devotees to have a long-term sustained Krishna consciousness. Because he was seeing that some of his disciples, they couldn't necessarily, they needed some engagement. They needed some engagement according to their nature, more than just doing kirtan in the streets. So that's the purpose of this Varnashram, it's not to oppress others, it's not to put others ahead of others. It's for us to find our nature, to hone into our nature, and being secure in that position, then we can engage in our service properly. Yeah, you can speak in the mic.
So it's not okay for someone of a lower class to take a higher position, correct?
Yes.
Okay, but it's okay for a person of a higher position to take a lower class.
Yeah. So what we read in this verse today was when there's an emergency, essentially we got to do what we got to do.
And
So-
it's okay for a lower class to take a higher
Yes.
position in emergency
Yes.
cases.
And so in our current day society, we are in an emergency case. Srila Prabhupada was saying that sometimes he's criticized because he's taking people who wouldn't normally be considered brahmanas, and he's saying, you teach Krishna consciousness, you teach spiritual life because of this emergency, because we desperately need society.
And that's what it says in emergency cases. We
Yeah.
have to step up when
Yeah,
we need
yeah.
it. We need to step up.
Yeah. And then an important point is that we hear that these are all meant to support our devotional service. They're not meant to exactly be the main thing. So if it's our service, we actually can act in any position, in any of these positions. It says a Vaishnava, a devotee, a servant of God, is beyond the Brahmana, is beyond all of these. So, someone says, "Oh, can you wash the pots?" "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm actually a Kshatriya. I'm a governor. I can't wash the pots." No. Yeah. Yeah, for Krishna we can do anything. Generally we're strong in our strong position, but in our Krishna consciousness, Krishna will send us challenges in all kinds of ways, send us different tests, and generally we have to go out of our comfort zone. We have to stretch a little bit.
Yeah, because everyone starts. I'm sure some, like Krishna, the reincarnations of God, can start out as Brahmins or what did you just say?
Kshatriyas.
Kshatriyas, who are the highest of,
Uh-huh.
right? However, most of us start off as Sudras,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So we have to, from what I'm seeing, is that we all start off at the bottom. However, what raises us or promotes us is God.
Yes,
So
yeah.
the only person that can promote us out of those Sudras, etc., is Krishna, correct? Or
Well, Krishna promotes us beyond the four classes. Krishna promotes us to
but we have, it's a level system, correct?
It's not exactly a ladder in that everyone has their own inclination. So, for
Okay.
example, I like art. I like to be an artist. So that might separate me from someone who likes to manage big projects. So,
But you would still be a Sudra, correct?
yeah, so there's these two things we were talking about. There's the qualities and the activities.
Okay.
So in activity, we may go to our work and we may be a plumber, we may be a street sweeper, things like that, which would be considered like a Shudra. But in quality, we were just reading what are the qualities of a Brahmana. The qualities of a Brahmana were, I think that was text 20. Yes.
Yeah.
Control of the mind, control of the senses, austerity, penance, cleanliness, satisfaction, forgiveness, simplicity, knowledge, mercy, truthfulness, and complete surrender to the personality of Godhead. So our activities may not change. I may still be a street sweeper, but my qualities can be
Brahmana.
like that of a Brahmana.
So therefore, you would be a Sudra taking on a Brahmin position in certain instances of
It's a little complicated in this day and age. There's not exactly like pure anything in
Right.
Kali Yuga, because
and that's the whole thing with this is what it's saying. It's almost like what do they call it? A riddle almost. It's almost like a riddle where it's saying that these are the individual social classes However, in emergencies, it can change. However, you can be one and the other. There's no cap on what you really are, correct? Except for, because right here it says the sutra, the how do you pronounce it? The one with the K, where they only worship.
Kshatriya.
They are the worshipers of the demigods, correct?
Yeah, should be well acquainted.
So for them, and a Brahmin is what? I'm sorry.
The Brahmanas are the priests, the teachers, the
right.
advisors, the counselors.
And they worship the Godhead, Krishna,
yeah.
correct? And then the sutras worship the demigods, correct?
Yeah.
However, but in worshiping the demigods, you're really worshiping Krishna, is what it said in the beginning of the Bhaktivedanta. So it's kind of like in the beginning, it's kind of like a riddle where he really says, God really says that no matter what you're doing, all of it's coming to me.
Mm-hmm.
You can worship the demigods, you can worship whoever, but I am those things.
Yeah,
correct?
but also an interesting point is that all of these different classes, they're supposed to follow the Brahmanas. The Brahmanas establish how to serve God. So when the Kshatriyas follow the Brahmanas, they are worshipping Krishna. When the Vaishyas follow the Brahmanas, they are worshipping Krishna. And yeah, again, an important point is that we are meant to become a Vaishnava. We're meant to become a devotee. So a devotee has the qualities of a Brahmana, even if the activities look different. But the most important quality is complete surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vaishnava or devotee. Vaishnava means devotee of Vishnu, devotee of God. No. Yeah. Vaisnava. Vaishnava. Devotee of Krishna, devotee of God, yeah. So, yeah. We're at 8:15, but I thought an important point in this is that this is called the perfect society for social classes. So we will try our best, but generally all these things are applicable in a perfect society. I can't really tell you, oh, Prabhu, you need to go to the fields and pick grains from the fields, instead of eating. We don't currently have the support for brahmanas to beg, and by begging sustain their whole family. So our current priority is this spiritual knowledge, is spreading this spiritual knowledge, and this we will work on at the same time, cultivating the Varnashram Dharma. I think we've covered a good amount today. Any comments or questions, thoughts? Let's go, Glenn and approve.
Hare Krishna. Wow. So I was thinking, it is explained in the scriptures there are two types of varnashrams. There is the Daivi and the other one is the Asuri. So Krishna says, as we all know, Chaturvarna Maya Srishta Guna Karma. So 4 classes are basically classified based on the gunas and qualities of the modes that the people have acquired, and karma, the activities that people are engaged in, right? So in Daivi Varnashram, I was thinking probably, the imbibed qualities are inherent and they don't have to artificially acquire, So through birth also sometimes, they are inherited, we see that. But as opposed to that, in the Asuri Varnashram, most of the people, there is a big chaos. There are neither gunas and nor the activities that they indulge into, which are coherent with the the duties prescribed in the Varnashram Dharma. And the third category I was thinking about was like us. Okay, I may not have the qualities of Brahmana. I definitely have qualities of Shudra, but the karma that I am trying to, indulge into or engage myself into are those of Brahmanas. So there is a transition going on right now.
Mm-hmm.
And as opposed to all these three categories, what we see here, no varnashram. So no varnashram is a big chaotic condition. But that said, Prabhupada says, you cannot negate the classes, right? So everybody has, although there are different shades of acquired modes, still there are predominant modes acquired. So somebody who is an artist, you can't force him to join army. And that's what we saw, what you call those drafts, right? So people are not willing to, because their nature is different. So similarly, we see in the scriptures when there was Vena, who was the vicious king, who was not following any scriptural tenets, then the Brahmanas had to pitch in. That's what the focus verse is talking about today. So that's the emergency situation where the Brahmanas had to accept the role of the Kshatriyas, and they had to chant the mantras and destroy the king and replace him by another virtuous king. So that is my understanding on this.
Thank you. Yeah. To recap, what we have perhaps in India, kind of what you were talking about, Asuri Varnashram, so kind of deviant. You might know it as the caste system. So often putting some above, some below, only based off of birth, but not based off of their qualities, not based off their activities. So that is the impure version of this divine Varnashram, Daivi Varnashram. So, we're emphasizing the qualities, we're emphasizing the activities. Thank you. Any other thoughts or comments? Prabhupada Priya?
I just thought it made a lot of sense when he was saying that people who are in the higher classes, they can do the service of classes, but people in classes can't do the service of the higher classes because the is that
You're clipping out a little bit.
Hare Krishna. Brahmins and all, they have
Maybe move a little closer. I think the receiver is having a hard time.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, this seems to be better. So, so people like Brahmins and Kshatriyas, they have a lot of training and education, and they're influenced by higher modes, like modes of goodness, and they're not influenced so much by the mode of ignorance. So then they're able to see like what needs to be done. So even if something needs to be cleaned up, or something needs to be repaired, or something needs to be made, like some artwork or something, it's like they can just do it because they have knowledge, they have clarity, they're self-disciplined and all that. But then someone who's in the lower class, they're influenced by the mode of ignorance, so they're not going to like become a teacher of Vedic knowledge because they don't have Vedic knowledge, or they're likely to misinterpret Vedic knowledge. They're not going to become like a ruler of the people, like a king or something, because they don't have that skill set, and they're not going to command the same authority, and they're probably just going to mess it up. So, but the good thing about the Varnashram system is what is always emphasized in Prabhupada's books is that it's not that because you're in a lower class, you have to stay in a lower class, because it's based on qualities. So when we practice Krishna consciousness, then that purifies the heart and the consciousness, and it removes the bad qualities, it removes the influence of the mode of ignorance, and it elevates us to the higher modes, up through the modes and transcending the modes, and it brings out all of the natural good qualities of the soul, so that, someone who used to be kind of ignorant and lazy and, violent or something, they become nonviolent and enthusiastic and knowledgeable and able to do a lot more than what they used to do because they've been purified by bhakti. So I feel like the secret to, navigating the varnashram system is really bhakti, and the goal of the whole varnashram system is bhakti. So it's kind of like, no matter where you are, it doesn't matter, just perform devotional service, and you can either be really good at what you're already doing, or you can change your qualities and do whatever it is that you want as you become qualified to do it. And in the end, as your bhakti becomes perfected, then you attain pure devotional service. So, but it's just good because Varnashram gives everybody a way to plug in from wherever they are. Even if you're totally in the mode of ignorance, that's okay. Just do the activities that just serve those who are higher, who are more knowledgeable, who are more advanced, and then you can get the benefit of that senior association. And yeah, there's a place for everyone, in the Vedic system, and if everyone is performing devotional service at the same time, then very quickly they all become highly qualified and can do anything. Yeah. And then also, sorry, I'm talking a lot. Also, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said that when someone becomes a Vaishnava, when someone becomes a devotee of Krishna, then we shouldn't say this is a Shudra Vaishnava, this is a Kshatriya Vaishnava, this is a Brahmin Vaishnava, but so Vaishnava is a Vaishnava, and everything that they do is devotional service. So he said it's like if you have what do you say? He gave the examples of pots. If you say this is a what's he say? Like this is an iron clay pot, this is a golden clay pot, or whatever. It doesn't matter. They're all just pots. They all do the same function. So Vaishnava may look different, be performing different activities, but because the core is the same, the heart is the same, and the heart is bhakti, devotion to Krishna. So we shouldn't discriminate like that and classify Vaishnavas as higher or lower in some kind of like class or caste sense.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah. The point is that it's elevating us from wherever we're at to the position of devotional service. You want the mic? It's just for the people online.
Oh. Oh, I think that we do need these class. I think in all forms of life we need class services. We have to have, I feel, what I've seen in my life and what I've been through and what God has shown me is that nobody's really so caught in the ego above somebody. However, we do need classes. We do need elevated roles and elevated services so that we have something to aspire to, because if we're all on the same level, there's really no point of Krishna coming to play on this realm at all. You understand? So
Yeah.
for us to have different, it gives us something to aspire to or something to know when we have fallen. Then we can see where we are and we can see where we want to go. Because otherwise, there would be no reason for God.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Brooklyn Underproof.
It just occurred to me, there is such a beautiful benefit in Varnashram system. As Prabhupada Priya, she explained, the real goal is, of course, samsiddhir haritoshanam, satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. Why? Because from the bird's eye point of view, the goal of this material world, why it is designed is to elevate every single or each one of us from our present level to the next level. But then, from the material point of view, I was thinking, this is such a beautiful system where you don't have to pay to any mentors. If there is a nice varnashram, imagine, you don't have to undergo any exclusive special training. Right from your childhood, you're trained as per your acquired modes. Now the if you look at in today's chaotic society, you ask any businessman, students, or working class, they will say, I'm doing what I don't like to do, right? They're not satisfied. There is no satisfaction. But in this system, beautiful system, people love to do. There are mentors, their fathers, their parents, their forefathers. There is such a wonderful protective environment. And you don't have to artificially, number one, imitate somebody that you're not. And that's where many people are, so to say, they're going into depression, and sometimes they commit suicide also. And artificially, voluntarily, I don't want to imitate another person that I'm not. And also, I'm not forced. Like, I give an example. If somebody's an artist, I'm not forced to join army, right? So such a wonderful system. Whatever is your nature and whatever activities that you are engaged in right from your beginning, you acquire a natural skill set, and you keep refining and refining, and then you pass it on to your kids, right, or the next generation. I was just thinking about that. Such a beautiful system, actually. You can avoid depression and so on and so forth.
I just had one thing to add to that, which is that what's nice about one of the other things that's wonderful about the Varnashram system is that each class takes care of the other. Like when we look at what had happened in recent years, like in India, the perverted system was I can't help you because you're that caste, but in this system, everyone is spiritually growing together, and it's the Kshatriyas protect everyone, and they give money to the Brahmanas, and the Vaishyas give money to the Brahmins. So the Brahmins can uplift the whole society spiritually, and the Vaishyas make sure that the Shudras have jobs to do, and they don't take advantage of them, like bosses today. Everybody appreciates the Shudras for what they're contributing. So it's just a natural process where everyone is, it's harmonious.
Right. Well, on that note, I hope you all, I'm glad you all like Varnashram Dharma, because the next 4 chapters, I think, will be on Varnashram Dharma. So we're just beginning this section.
Oh, just one last point. Sorry about that. Okay. As you split this word, Varna and Ashram, Ashram is basically a system where you take the shelter, right, as per your nature, like Gajendra's story. Gajendra was an elephant, and he was the animal of land, right? But although he was so strong and powerful, he was losing his battle in the water. So one has to identify with the help of one's mentors or counselors and find out what exactly is my place. If I'm the land of the animal, then I should be on the land, So similarly, brahmacharis, grahasthas, they have to identify what is their nature, and accordingly take shelter of that particular system and be situated. And that helps. Otherwise, I've seen some brahmacharis, back in those days, I've seen they become so mental depressed. This is not natural. And after spending few years, they realize, okay, I'm not meant for this ashram. So there has to be guidance from the proper mentors, and also one has to introspect and analyze what is my nature. So then the battle against Maya becomes easier.
Jai, thank you. Kanchara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Premanande.